Здравствуйте, 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 и добро пожаловать. Hello, and welcome to the very first questions and answers edition of a Spoonful of Russian podcast. Coming to you from a small home studio in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. Instead of trying to find time to get back to each and every one of you individually through email, I decided to start accumulating the questions and answering them in a podcast. I'm thinking of getting one out once a month, maybe. I'm getting questions sporadically, sometimes several a day, sometimes nothing for days in a row. My hope is to have a large pool of questions to pull from. That way, you can count on regular Q&A sessions. Ways to get your questions over to me. Well, there's a contact form on my site, speakrussian.blogspot.com. You can also leave a quick voicemail calling 209-980-7877. That's 209-980-RUSS. You can also email me at spoonfulofrussian@gmail.com. And you can tweet your questions or comments at Russian Spoonful with hashtag AskNataliaW. And there's always a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spoonful of Russian. Now, I'm aware that many of you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than go to my YouTube channel and view content there. I myself am an avid listener of a handful of podcasts. When I'm cooking in my kitchen or lifting weights in my garage, I do not really want to look at a video. Truth is, we all consume media in different ways depending on our activities. So, hopefully, you guys will find this format useful and enjoyable. This would typically be a time in a podcast where I'd share with you a quick word from my sponsors, but I don't have any sponsors. I've been podcasting since 2005, when the whole podcast phenomena was rolled out by Steve Jobs. Since then, several companies approached me, but none of them seemed like a good match for the content of this podcast. So, I'm still waiting for my advertising prints for the business marriage made in heaven. Make me an offer. I can't refuse, and you will not be sleeping with the fishes. So if you're a huge corporation out there with lots of spare change in your pockets, listening to me right now, reach out by emailing me, spoonfulofrussian@gmail.com. Alright, this is time for our first question. The first question comes from Cherise from Georgia. She's asking, what do you think about the Hollywood's actor's Russian accent? Well, that's a good one. I get that question quite a lot from people. What do I think about it? I think it's terrible. I love Harrison Ford, but his Russian leaves much to be desired. I can say the same about Sean Connery, Chuck Norris, and many others. Now, Tom Cruise tried to do his best in the latest Mission Impossible. The scene where he's breaking out of the Russian prison was actually quite good. The guards were genuine Russians, except one or two. Looks like Tom took studying his Russian lines seriously, so kudos to him. But it's a rare thing to come across a Hollywood actor speaking decent Russian. I understand filmmakers want to use certain actors for certain roles, but sometimes it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Truth is, there are many talented actors out there who are Russians. Many of them even live in the United States. Use them, Hollywood. Give them jobs. Thankfully, nowadays, we don't have to search too long to find genuine Russian media. There are several Russian films on Netflix. If you don't have a Netflix subscription, do not fear, there's always YouTube. Now, I'm not paid to promote this channel, but I'll mention it anyway because this channel has a wealth of classic Russian movies. Mos Film. Film, Mosfilm in Russian, has been the largest and oldest film studio in Russia. It was founded in 1920s, and its output includes most of the wildly acclaimed Soviet-era films, some of my favorites. 1968, War and Peace, Война и мир. 1978, The Diamond Arm, Бриллиантовая рука. 1973, that's kind of a long name, Иван Васильевич меняет профессию. Ivan Vasilievich Back to the Future. A very funny comedy. 1975, The Irony of Fate, or Enjoy Your Баня, or sauna. Ирония судьбы, или С легким паром. 1977, Office Romance, служебный романс. I just watched it the other day. Enjoyed it immensely. 1979, Moscow Doesn't Believe in Tears. Москва слезам не верит. In the 1985 comedy Love and Doves, Любовь и голуби. I'm including the links to this channel on YouTube below, and also the information on Wikipedia. Well, this question about accents somehow evolved into a question about Russian cinematography. It's a near and dear topic to my heart, and we can definitely camp on it in the future. But here's some food for thought as we move on to the next question. I'm linking here to a Vimeo video. It's an extract from an interview with Andrei Tarkovsky, a critically acclaimed Soviet film director. You will see this in my podcast notes on speakrussian.blogspot.com. Next question comes from John from California. In the age of instant information exchange and assimilation of cultures, do Russian immigrants still hold on to some Russian-only traditions and ways? That's a very good question and very well constructed, I might add. Thank you, John. I agree that today cultural borders are getting less and less defined. Internet, I think, is mainly to thank for that, or to blame for that. At any rate, I remember times when the only way I could get info about foreign countries was through the handwritten letters of my pen pals. Back in the 1980s, let's see, our TV had only 2 channels, and both of them were run by the government. Radio was a bit different. One could catch BBC Radio, World Radio Service, or Voice of America station, and get news that way. But being a little girl of 8, that was not my thing. Now, Russians are very much cosmopolitan and have adapted the ways of the West into their everyday lives now. But when a Russian moves away from his or her motherland, they tend to resurrect and cherish their Russian-only customs and traditions. I'd say it is out of sentimental reasons. There is an innate desire to keep to our roots, preserve the rich legacy for our children. I hope I'm correct when I speak for my friends here in the United States when I say that things we took for granted while in Russia, we now find of great value. Personally, I'm rereading all the classics I skimmed through while in high school and in college. The same goes for films. I bug my mom for her family recipes every time I get her on Skype call. I also try to collect all the family history and old photographs. As far as traditions themselves, I'd say hot tea drinking is among the top ones. Of course, drinking vodka for relaxation will be another one for many, but not for me. I never developed a taste for the stuff. I'm more of a red wine person. Let's see. Taking shoes off indoors, of course. Russian immigrants' New Year celebration is much more involved and elaborate than that of a regular American family. That holiday in itself carries tons of traditions, such as making of vinaigrette, a salad based on beetroot. Here's the best recipe of it I could find, and I'm linking here to Natasha's kitchen. Okay, so go ahead and make sure you read the notes to the podcast. Another salad, оливье. Let's see, селедка под шубой, dressed herring. It's a layered salad composed of diced salted herring covered with layers of grated boiled vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beetroots, chopped onions, and mayonnaise, of course. All right, there's another link there on Wikipedia. Заливная рыба. One of the ways the phrase is translated is aspic fish. There's a very famous and widely quoted line from that film I mentioned above. It says, «Какая гадость! Какая гадость! Это ваша заливная рыба. This aspic fish of yours is a total failure». Well, that's a polite way of saying it. A more straightforward way would be, Jesus, your aspic fish sucks big time. And there's a link to a YouTube clip of that. Hope you enjoy that one. Let's see. There's also фаршированные яйца, deviled eggs. I know it's pretty common here too. Another one is just aspic, холодец. Холодец. One of my favorites growing up. My mama used to make it just right. The best recipe also from Natasha's kitchen. What can I say? I love this girl's recipes. They're authentic and just like my mama used to make the stuff. Sometimes, let's see, something else my mom excels at is мясо по-купечески, French meat casserole. Looked around the interwebs, and the closest recipe to my mom's was one published by a girl named Natalia, and I'm linking to it in my notes, of course. So, those are just some of the staples. I'm sure I'm missing some. If you catch it, send me an email. As you can see, Russians are very fond of their traditional foods. The prep work for the New Year's feast involves your whole family and oftentimes friends cooking together all day long while watching that 1975 film, The Irony of Fate, or Enjoy Your Баня, Ирония судьбы или С легким паром. Every single year. And we never grow tired of it. Boy, this whole New Year traditions thing got me quite excited and sentimental. For the sake of time, we do need to move on to the next topic, but if the above information births a question in your mind, please do not hesitate to contact me. You know how. All right, next question. Is it easy for foreigners to get a job in Russia? I'm thinking, why would you want to? But, okay. Anyway, let's try to answer this one. It has been a long time since my last visit to Russia, so I contacted one of my American friends who is currently living in the country. He says, short answer is no. You need a work visa and an invitation from a Russian company that is willing to sponsor you. Then you may ask, what about coming and working for a non-profit organization? They're also under a lot of scrutiny right now from the government. So you can still get humanitarian visas, I believe, but you would need a sponsor as well. Next question. Why are Americans always the bad guys in modern Russian action movies and games? Well, let me answer this question with a question. Why are Russians always the bad guys in almost all American movies? Remember Crimson Tide? Red Dawn? The Hunt for Red October? Air Force One? Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Red Heat, Salt, The Tourist, The Sum of All Fears. I mean, I can go on, and it's more than just an action, is more than just action films. There are plenty of animated films that have cute little villains speak broken Russian, like that Blue Russian Cat and Cats and Dogs, or Steve Carell as Gru in Despicable Me. So yeah, it goes both ways. It always did. There's just a strange dance going on between the two countries. Kind of reminds me of the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith. By the way, couple of detergent making companies should consider naming their products Crimson Tide and Red Dawn. Alright, moving on to the next question. Can you suggest some good Russian bands / songs? I get asked this question a lot too. Unfortunately, I cannot just give you a list. Music tastes are different, One man's awesome music is another man's garbage. I'm sure you can Google Russian traditional music and get lots of results, but, for a taste of current Russian artists, I can point, you can point your browser to www.last.fm and put a little tag, Russia or Russian, and you'll get a pretty good idea. I'm going to get a link down in my notes too. I've been listening to it today, and my personal favorites would be Город 312, Yulia Savicheva, Maxim, Zemfira, Bravo, Kino, Yolka, and so on and so forth. You'll be able to see that in my notes and check them out if you want to. All right, moving on to the next question. This one made me laugh. Are Russian men womanizers like French guys? Well, it's kind of a stereotypical question. Well, I'll play. All right, first of all, I personally do not have any experience with French men, so I cannot confirm nor deny the assumption that they are womanizers. Now, as far as Russian men go, I'd say they are gallant, toward women. At least within the circle of my family and friends. They will open the door for a woman. They will get up from their seat in the presence of a woman. They will get up and offer a woman their seat on a public transport. Well, I guess some Western women take that as flirtation, but for us, this behavior is the norm. All right, next question. What kind of transportation, since we're on the transportation question anyway, what kinds of transportation are used in Russia? Well, the question is kind of an interesting, because the ways of transportation have evolved in the last 15 years dramatically. Growing up in 1980s, all I knew on a daily basis was buses and trolleys. An occasional taxi when my parents felt like splurging. In the early 1980s, when I was a kid, my dad bought a car, Lada make, for those who are interested, and that was considered a luxury. When most Russian folks would ride a bus to their dachas, Daddy used to take us to dig our potatoes in style. Nowadays, my understanding is that lots and lots of people own a car in Russia. Problem is, there are not enough parking space for all these cars. So certain infrastructures will have to, play a game of catching up, and fast. Trains and airplanes have been on the transportation scene for a while now, so not much change there. Moving on to the next question. When will the 2014 Winter Olympics be held? Let's see. It's going to be held from the 7th of February to the 23rd of February in Sochi, Russia. Next one. What foods do Russians enjoy eating? You got an hour or two? Because Russians love to eat, let me tell you. All right. I kind of mentioned a bunch of them while answering the traditions question, but just to name a few more, let's see, borsch, B-O-R-S-C-H, borsch. By the way, when I see a T at the end of the word, it just makes me, I don't know, makes me mad because there is no T at the end of the word. It's borsch, okay? B-O-R-S-C-H. That's it, no T. All right, borsch is served either hot or cold. Traditional borsch soup in Russia uses beef stock, beets, and cabbage. Sometimes some potatoes. However, today's recipes have been modified, and borsch often contains a variety of different vegetables. All right, next one is shi. That's a mouthful. In Russian, you have only two letters, sh and e. When you want to transcribe that into Latin letters, you get S-H-C-H-I. Shi. Shi is a Russian soup with cabbage as the main ingredient. And its primary distinction is its acidic taste. I love shi. Kartoshka. Potatoes. Kartoshka. Russians also enjoy a number of dishes made from potatoes, representing the heartier side of Russian cuisine. Of course, blini, crepes. Blini, pronounced blini, with the last vowel sounding like the I in the word it. Blini. Blini appears as a thin pancake, much like a crepe, filled with savory or sweet toppings. Popular Russian variations include sour cream and caviar, preserves, potatoes, mushrooms, and meat. Because blin, singular, has such a light taste of its own, you can fill it with almost anything. Something in the same family, oladyi. It's pancakes. Oladyi is one of many Russian traditional flour treats usually served for breakfast. They are classic and simple. Classic are made with yeast, and simple are made with baking soda and buttermilk or sour cream. Pelmeni. Oh my goodness, pelmeni is one of my family's favorite. They are dumplings, and they consist of filling wrapped in thin, unleavened dough. You can put meat, all kind of meats inside. Italian ravioli, they usually have cheeses and stuff. Well, Russians usually put a mixture, 50-50, of beef and pork. And of course, there are different variations of that. But my favorite is beef and a little bit of fatty pork. Черный хлеб is another thing that Russians can't live without. Черный хлеб, black bread, literally. But it's a form of rye bread that's not actually black. It has a pretty sharp flavor and a pretty firm texture. Very different from your regular American bread, where you can take that American bread in your hand and squeeze it, and it will remain in the mold. Now, Russian bread, it will hold its texture. It may take a while, but many non-Russians come to love the black bread. Черный хлеб. Пироги. Пироги. In the Russian frame of mind, everything with a crust counts as a pie, or pirog. While some Russian pirogi contain fruit, others feature savory fillings like meat, mushrooms, and fresh cheese. Pirozhki, the diminutive form of pirogi, means small pies. Next on the list is okroshka. If you know anything about Russian culture, you will sure to know this. Okroshka is a traditional cold Russian summer soup that doesn't need to be boiled. It is usually made of, first of all, it's made on hot days when nobody wants to move, let alone cook something serious in the kitchen. This soup contains mostly raw vegetables, boiled eggs, and fermented drink, kvass. Which brings me to another popular thing that Russians like to partake, kvass. It's a lightly fermented beverage made from black or regular rye bread. I mean, it's safe for kids to drink. I remember drinking kvass all the time being a kid in Russia. All right, another one on the list is kasha. Porridge ranks as a common Russian breakfast meal made from buckwheat or any cereal wheat, barley, oats, millet, rye, cooked in either milk or water. At least 1,000 years ago, they started cooking that. Kasha is one of the oldest known dishes in Central European and Eastern European cuisine. Grechka, buckwheat, is by far my favorite. Well, it has been since my childhood. Now my husband and my kids love it too. Buckwheat groats are used, and it is cooked like rice, very simply. It has an awesome nutritional profile, and I'm linking to it at www.whfoods.com. Well, to kind of round up the list, Russians also enjoy eating all kinds of different salads, some of them drenched in mayonnaise, as I was reminded by one of my friends living in Russia right now. Thank you, Karen, and thank you all of my Facebook friends for pitching in. All right, and the last question for this podcast is, do bears still walk along Russian streets? Let me think about that one. The answer is no. Well, looks like this is it for the first Q&A session of the podcast. I did my best and hope you enjoyed your time. You might have even learned something new today. I sure hope so. I know I did while getting this podcast together. In closing, I just wanted to thank you all for taking time out of your busy lives to listen to my ramblings. From the feedback you guys leave on iTunes, I gathered that the audience of A Spoonful of Russian is a peculiar one, in a good sense of the word. For one reason or the other, Russian language is not considered to be one of the highly sought-out foreign languages like Spanish, French, or German. There is a small yet a well-defined layer of the society that finds the Russian language and the Russian culture of great interest. You are that layer, and I salute you. Your reasons for sticking with a less popular language could be very different, so I leave you, my friends, with this question. What is it that draws you to the Russian language, history, and culture? I'm looking forward to your answers and will share them in the next Q&A session. The ways to get answers over to me. Voicemail 209-980-7877. That is 209-980-RUSS. spoonfulofrussian@gmail.com. That would be for emailing me. Follow me on Twitter at Russian Spoonful, preferably with hashtag AskNataliaW. And of course, leaving comments under my videos on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/spoonfulofrussian. The above ways of communication are not just for questions. Any kind of feedback is encouraged and appreciated. So until next time, до встречи. In the meantime, in the words of a famous physicist, Richard Feynman, study hard what interests you the most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible.